accountancy. I've worked 2 years with KPMG. Post that I was working 3 years with EY, and currently I'm working with a company called Landis& Gear. So yeah, that's about me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I mean, so very quickly, right? I'll just tell you who all will be participating. You have various different students, anywhere between 16 to 20, 21, 22 years old, who are very, very
Okay.
early stage in their career. And essentially, the whole idea behind this is for us to get a quick overview or a quick sort of guide to how they should go about navigating, a finance career, being a CA, one of these big firms. And what are some of the tips, tricks? What are some of the hurdles which you face, and what are some of the basic things which you think every single one of someone who's interested in this profession should know? So, Yogi, I mean, can you get started with the first question?
Beautiful, perfect. Snehal, so currently you're working as a deputy manager of internal audit at Landis & Gear, right? So if you can trace back your educational journey and your professional journey in a short brief, that will be helpful for us to start.
Okay, sure. So I'll start. Suppose my 10th standard. How did I still go for a commerce? So I have to say that when you're the first kid of your parents, so your parents are too much interested in you, it would be like the first project which need to perform it, let it be anything. So all their expectation and everything would go in the first project. So I was lucky enough, I was not a first kid, so I got a liberty to select what I wanted to do. I scored really well in 10th standard, but I had a love for numbers. And somehow at that time, I believed that, okay, if I select commerce, it would be all maths, which is not true. But that was the only reason I went for commerce. And my parents were like indifferent because I was an average student in school. So they thought that I would not be able to cope up with science. Somehow I got a good percentage in 10th. So let her take commerce. So I'm basically from Mumbai. So in Mumbai, there was a classes which was very well known for commerce, and in that particular classes, they used to select people on basis merits. So you're not allowed to enroll or not. You don't get an admission until you score that much of merit. So all the students, commerce students in that particular classes were the elite students. So what happened was I never planned to do a CA. I always wanted to be, I really didn't know what I wanted to be, but I wanted to be somebody more like always wanted to be a detective. So somehow I went with the flow. Then I gave CPT exam. I scored very well in CPT. Then I gave IPCC exam. I passed in first attempt. Then I gave the CA final. Then yeah, that also went very well. And yeah, I ended up being a CA.
Perfect. So that covers your personal educational journey, right? Post that, what was your work life like? Say, what was your first job? Post that, what was your second job? How did you go about the whole journey? So one of the things that I remember in your profile was you had an internship or articleship that they call in terms of
Yes.
CA, and then you've worked with KPMG and then EY and then the current firm, right? If you can run us through your whole professional journey, that will be like interesting point to note.
Yes. So the most important part for any particular CA to determine what their career is, like they're lucky they get an to do an articleship for 3 years. So when you do an articleship, you have an option to do with the big fours, which are like all the consulting firm, PwC, Deloitte, EY, KPMG, or you can go with the CA firms. So since I was in a very good location, I was born and brought up in Mumbai, I had an opportunity to go with the big four, but I didn't get through any of those interviews during my articleship. So I went with the CA firm. So there was a small CA firm in my city, in my town, which I happened to join at start. So there I got basically a basic tax work. So within 6 months, I realized that tax is not something which I am very much interested into. That's something very much monotonous job. So it's just my personal point of view, but that was not something of my interest. So
Okay.
then I left that particular the articleship and I joined a articleship firm in uh, it's in Mumbai. So it's in BKC, and that was a very well top 10 firms of Mumbai. So
Okay.
over there, I got an opportunity in audit. So there was an opportunity in external audit, which is a statutory audit, and in internal audit. So majorly, I was in the external audit. When I was doing external audit, I realized that it's a checklist-based audit. So you have a particular checklist. You need to look into that particular aspects of accounting, and you need to report it. So I liked it, but not so much. Then later I got an opportunity to explore my career in internal audit. So in internal audit, it's like a broad area. Whatever you want to audit, however in detail you want to go into the business, you can get into it. You have a complete liberty to do that. So that was something which interested me. So that was somewhere a route for me getting into post my qualification, me getting into and joining a big four and going into an advisory services, risk advisory services.
Okay.
So yeah, so once I qualified as CA, I got a job in 3 big fours and 2 MNCs. So at start, I rolled out the option of joining an MNC because it was an accounting profile, a bookkeeping profile, which I was not much interested into.
Okay.
And then it came to a big four. So in big four, I got into external audits, which was really paying better than what I opted for. So that was something as a fresher, as a 21-year fresher, you qualify as CA. Your parents also wants you to earn more. So I wanted to go for that lucrative opportunity, but yeah, something I knew that I would not enjoy in long run. So then again, I didn't go for an external audit and I went for an risk advisory with KPMG and I joined KPMG.
Okay.
So within KPMG, I was with the, it's a department called Governance, Risk and Compliance Services. So that is a broad category of, it gives you an exposure of internal audit, internal controls. It gives you an exposure of setting up processes for a company. And also if there is a lean season, you get loaned out to other advisory services like forensic audit, like IT audit, cyber audits. So it's a very broad opportunity to be more precise, you get to work upon when you're in advisory.
Wonderful. So, asking you a little bit more questions about, about the actual CA journey. Now,
Okay.
one of the most common struggles which tons and tons of CA students face is actually clearing the final. What is that exam called? I mean, I'm missing the name.
CA final exams, yeah.
Yeah, the final exam which will give you, okay, now
Yeah.
you're a CA, you can certify
Yes.
people and all that. There's two reasons. I mean, one is that I was not aware of this, but recently I found out that there's only a very specific number of CAs which they allow every year. So even if you're good, say in that batch everyone is excellent, you're pretty much out. So
Yeah.
I mean, how does a student at that age manage to deal with that pressure? Because there's immense pressure to clear that exam, and I mean, you just cleared it when you were 21, so that's incredible on your part. But
Yes.
what are some of the tips and tricks which you would share with every student who is planning to clear that, the main final exam?
Yeah. So to be more precise on the numbers which you mentioned, so how the institute filter out would be. So at CPT, passing percentage, which is an entry level, it's 20 to 25%. So out of 100, only 20 and 25 people would clear. When it comes to IPCC, they would be people of 20-25% who clear. That would be now a population of 100, and there would be 10% who would clear. And now the 10% which becomes a population of 100%, there would be 5 to 6% who would clear. So it's not something which is very difficult, to be more precise. It's just that tricks, if I have to say something, your dedication, your commitment, which is the most important thing. And something which I used to do on a very regular basis while I was studying, because studying for a CA is it's not a difficult team, but difficult thing, but you don't have time because you're doing your articleship simultaneously, you're completing your graduation simultaneously. So that was with me. I was doing my graduation, my articleship, and then CA. So the most important thing which I did was I used to make notes for each and everything. So there would be a book of every book in every subject in CA is minimum 500 pages book. So for every book, I had a 200 pages of my own book,
Okay.
which is the only book which I studied before the exam and during the exams.
Wow.
It,
By any chance, do you have this book available?
So I gave it to my friends, posted. I don't remember what my friends did with that.
Okay, wonderful. So, continuing on this question, what would you say to, say someone who has attempted this particular exam and not been able to clear it? Should he keep attempting it? I mean, what would be your advice to them?
See, I would say that don't give the exams only to get a degree. That would not help you. So if you don't give an exam, and if you do some sort of a job, and if you do it really well, the degree would not help. If you want to learn something new and to explore explore the how you can apply the academic knowledge into your practical work, then that would be something which would help. So just don't do it for the sake of doing it.
Wonderful.
Got
I
it.
mean, that's the right answer. And I mean, for everyone who's watching, CA is like one of those professions. Like you have doctors, lawyers, architects. It's gonna be really difficult to go through it, but if you can go through it, you're coming out as a professional, and no one can take that away from you for your life. So, anyway, moving forward. So, you mentioned that you got your articleship in a fairly large company. So, how did you manage to pull that off? I mean, and how did you manage to pull off getting a job immediately after you got your results as a CA? So, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, that's a nice question. So that's something which I wonder now also, how did I manage to do that? So I would say you precisely, I was doing my graduation simultaneously. So I used to go to college in morning, like it used to start at 7. I used to leave early from college
You
at
managed to
9.
pull off getting a job immediately after you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I used to travel for 2 hours. Like in Mumbai, nothing is near. You need to travel. So then I used to travel approximately for 1.5 to 2 hours to reach to my articleship place. I used to reach at 11, do my articleship, leave at 6, reach back to my CA classes and do my classes till 10:30. So
Wow.
that was my schedule. Uh,
My God.
but the most important thing, uh, I would say in articleship would be, so when you're doing an articleship, most of the students are in the age group of 18 to 21. So you're you don't know anything. It's your base, how what you're going to learn. So if you if you take benefit of that opportunity completely, then you're going to excel it. So just whatever you're doing it, do it really well. Put your complete hard work into it, and you can come out with the flying colors.
Got it.
Okay. So I would like to ask you another question. Like, uh, so how do you think a CA should differentiate from other CAs? Because say a big company is trying to hire a CA or something like that, right? Like pretty much all of them have gone through the same exam, they've cleared it, they have gone through the same study and all that. So how do you end up differentiating yourself to a possible recruiter, or even when you're starting your own firm probably? I mean, how do you differentiate with other CAs?
Why you have to differentiate with other CA? Like when you
Just
do an
that
engineering,
is
there
someone
would be
you're
an
hiring with,
engineer
right?
coming from the same, like there would be an engineers coming from the same colleges. They learn same thing.
Okay.
But see, always the differentiating factor would be your own personality, how you present yourself. So when you're starting with your own firm, how would you create you yourself as a brand for the people, for your clients? So how you present yourself as a brand, that would be a differentiating factor. But yeah, you don't need to differentiate.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. Great.
So,
Great. Yeah.
yeah, Nikhil, you had a question?
Yeah. Yeah. Please continue. No.
Okay. So, one of the things that you said was, as Nikhil also pointed out, right? What was the steps that you took to, say, for example, crack that articleship? You said earlier you were working in one firm, you didn't enjoy the work, and then you tried to get into another firm. That is one part. And then, with respect to getting into a company, say, for example, KPMG or EY, what are the thought process that you had, and how did you go about getting it done?
uh, okay, that's a good question. So coming to the first question, which was with respect to articleship. So with respect to articleship, I was very clear what work I need to do in my articleship. So when you go for an articleship, I would say the most important the most important advice would be, don't just go for any firm. When you're joining it, ask the principal or ask the people who are taking your interview, what is the work which you will get to do, what would be the sort of work, whether you will get to do a work in taxation, in an external audit, in taxation, whether you would be working in direct taxation and indirect taxation. So you will get an idea what work you will get to do. Then the second would be, ask what are the major clients. It's not an harm to ask them what's a major client, because you will get to learn that whether you would be working for an individuals, you would be working for a private limited companies, you would be working for a listed company or for PSUs. So that's the most important thing. So get that particular clarity and then only join and go ahead with the articleship. And the third thing would be, not even articleship, the graduates who go for an internship or the MBA who goes for an internship, get asked this question very well in the interview itself. And the other sort of advice would be, don't get influenced by the stipend or the money which you get during articleship or internship. That's just the start of your career. That's going over there. The knowledge which you will get is much more important than the money which you will get over there. So that would be something, three main advices during the articleship. And with the articleship, if I have to be precise, I was very clear what work I need to do. And I used to always communicate that to my principal. So I want to do this work. I want to take this project. And since he saw that I have a caliber to do that, he gave me those opportunities.
Got it.
So, and keep your goals clear. Set in articleship, you don't need to set the goals with your principal, but do that. So even he knows that what you want in your, what you want to do in your articleship.
I mean, can you just elaborate a little bit more? So what kind of goals do you think, a student should set? Because setting your goals, of course, it's a very, very good thing.
Yes.
But say if you had specific goals, like, look, make sure that you have this point 1, point 2, point 3, because you'll get maximum out of that articleship. So what would you say? Like, these are the goals which you should set.
So the goals, so the people, I would say for myself. So the first goal would be, okay, I want to do a internal audit for a listed company, or I want to do an internal audit for XYZ company. It would not be possible for him to give the opportunity at the same time, but after a year, he can give you that opportunity. I want to pursue a new skill set. In articleship, see, you would not try to learn skill sets like SAP or Power BI, but I want to learn how to use Microsoft Excel. I want to learn how to use Outlook very well. So set this kind of goals with your principal, so that even he knows that if he comes to know about any opportunity, he gives you that opportunity at the first place.
Wonderful. I think that's incredible advice. And I mean, for all the listeners, please don't underestimate the power of Excel. You may think it's a basic software. It basically runs the entire finance world. I mean, Snehal, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it's the bread and butter for finance. Like, you can't run anything without Excel. You can't do anything.
Yeah, that's one of the most important skill set, I'm guessing. So what other skill set do you think is very important while you're preparing for your CA, while you're doing your articleship, which will prepare you better the moment you graduate and start applying for jobs? I mean, what would you say?
So the most important skill set, if I would say over here, would be, see, as a CA, when you get qualified as a CA, it's very well, everyone knows that you have a domain knowledge. You're very strong academically. But the only thing which would be different would be your communication skills. First thing would be, if you can't express yourself, if you can't keep your thought process thoroughly, then there is no chance that it can work out for you. The job or anything can work out for you. Second would be decision making skills. The most important thing, because let it be external audit, let it be advisory or an internal audit, the most important thing which they would expect from you would be decision making skills, which you should know. You should ready to learn new things. So learning is a continuous process in this particular profession. So only doing a CA is not an endpoint, that's a start point.
Wonderful.
So
yeah,
that's something, that's the three most important thing I would advise anyone.
Totally
Absolutely.
agree with that particular thing.
And can you stress a little bit? Can you give us an example of of the decision, specifically about the decision making skill part? Because I really feel that this is something which is a very unique point, I would say. Because you would be like, it's finance, it's numbers. I mean, won't the numbers make the decision for you? So I would like to understand. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on the decision making?
Okay. So just to take an example of numbers which you mentioned. So with numbers, the things become black and white. Okay. But there is always a gray area with numbers. So once you have
Okay.
derived at the answer, what you would do with that answer? Should you go for it or should you don't go for it? You should not go for it. And if you go for it, how would it benefit you? So doing that cost benefit analysis, or like if you get a number, if you get some, this is a ROI of your company, but how would it help? Analyzing it further, that's a gray area which you need to make decision on.
Okay, that's a really good example.
Yeah.
So we actually have a question here from an anonymous attendee. Is it better around the same area? Is it better
Okay.
to do an articleship in a big four or a mid-sized company? Interesting question. So what would you say to him or her?
So my first advice would be, if you get to do an opportunity to do an articleship with Big Four, go for it. So this would be like a year, 1 year after you're getting qualified. What would the experience you would gain would be equal to a 3 years of your articleship, which you would have done in a Big Four. So if you get an opportunity, please go for it. It's one of the best thing. And don't get scared from a fact that, okay, if you do an articleship with a Big Four, you would not get a sufficient leave for your CA final exam. So if you get leave for a CA final exam for the 4 months or 3 months, it's not going to make a difference. You will study in a similar manner. So don't get scared from that fact. The second would be, don't get scared from a fact that if you go for a articleship in a Big Four, you can't concentrate on your graduation. If you learn whatever you learn during your course of CA, it helps during your graduation. To give you more precise example of this, I went for my articleship uh, 1 day before my graduation exam, and I didn't study at all for my graduation.
Oh,
And I really scored very well in my graduation, except for that there are like 80 marks for practical and 80 marks for theory and 20 marks for practical. So I lost that entire 20 marks because I was not attending college. But yeah, I scored really well in my written exams. So that going for doing an articleship with Big Four is a really good thing. But if you want to start your own CA firm, then getting in doing an articleship with a mid-sized firm would be a good idea, because you will get a knowledge about these small clients. What is their requirement? Because the requirement of a small client is way different from the requirement of the big clients or any of the MNCs. So if you're planning to do your own practice, then better go with a mid-sized firm.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for adding that, Snehal. So there is also a question from Bhupender Singh Rajput. His question is, I'm doing ACCA along with BCom from Delhi University. Would this particular course combination that he's doing, would it help me to get into a Big Four after graduation?
Yes, ACCA along with the graduation is a very good combination. So either if you're in ACCA, you get an opportunity either to get into an external audit or the internal audit or the accounting advisory part of it. So it's a very good combination. And also with ACCA, you get an opportunity to explore global roles. So in Middle East country, they give lots of importance to ACCA. Also in European countries. So if you're doing an ACCA, you get to explore a global opportunity with Big Fours.
Beautiful. So one of the questions is, okay, so as a student, we always aim for Big Four, right?
Yeah.
That's typically what we are told in terms of our college, in terms of our university. But those initial 1 or 2 years is very crucial for us, right? To pick up the right amount of skills, the right amount of exposure. Keeping that in mind, do you still say the Big Four would give you a lot more exposure, or another mid-sized firm or the corporate segment, which would give the maximum exposure to a person to pick up these skills?
So it depends on what you're looking for. So what kind of exposure you're looking for? If you're looking for an exposure, if you want to join any of the big MNCs post qualifying CA, better go for a big four. So if you're a big four candidate, it becomes easy to the MNC. Your job process becomes really easy if you're a big four candidate, because most of them have like if you're in a same, if you're auditing XYZ company and then there is a vacancy in that company, most of the time you end up getting a job in same company. With the mid-size firm, again my answer would be same. If you're looking for to practice in future, or if you're looking to explore a job role not in a not in MNC or a global company, if you want to go for any of the PSU companies, go for mid-size firm.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, that's the right approach. I think that's a very specific, that's a proper answer. So I hope that answers your question. Moving forward, so I would like to understand this again, sticking around this timeline of graduation around CA articleship, still at that timeline. What are some of the most basic fundamental skills which you think a lot of CAs end up ignoring?
The fundamental skills which a lot of CA end up ignoring. So I would say that it would be a communication skill, because when you're doing a CA, you are not in a college. So you're not interacting with the other CA students. You don't get a platform to do any of the presentations. You don't get a platform to interact or to carry out any, like when you're in college, you keep doing sessions, you keep doing many of the activities. So in CA, you don't get that opportunity. You keep ending up working. So that's one thing which most of the CA students lack is communication skills, and which is the base after clearing a CA.
Perfect. Snehal, so on that note, right? So you said that you
Yeah.
didn't get enough people to practice communication skills or improve it. So what are the steps that you took to improve your communication skills?
So what are the steps which I took? So after qualifying, when I joined KPMG, so one thing I would say that it was like I would give an example of one of my clients. So they plotted me on one of their clients, which I was not much aware of what work I need to do. So I had a fight with the HR head. Like I was trying to pitch with for some issue, some observation in which she didn't agree. And that ended up being a very messy fight, which got escalated to CFO and CEO of the company. And then I have to be answerable to them also. And then I went to my manager and I had a discussion about what happened in the company with them. Then and I told him that it's clearly your mistake, not my mistake, because you didn't give me enough support. Being a fresher, it was your responsibility to give me enough support and to guide me. So one thing he taught me over there was it's a big swimming pool. You can't learn swimming learning seeing a YouTube video. I will put you in the water. There would be sharks. There would be everything, and you need to learn swimming yourself. So then what happened was somewhere he was correct, not completely correct, but somewhere he was correct. I need to take efforts on myself. So I started analyzing what are the skills which I am lacking for. Because when I went for a meeting, I know that I have a content and my content was correct. But am I able to present them in a manner it should be presented? So am I able to make them understand what I want them to do it? So that were the questions which came into my mind. So what I started doing is I started interacting with more people. I joined many groups. I joined Toastmasters. I was part of many other group social networking sites. So I started being active. I started networking a lot. So that was something which I started doing it other than studying and working.
Beautiful.
That's actually a very counterintuitive answer. You'd expect CA to tell just focus on numbers, and you're telling us no, learn how to communicate.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So basically, you're telling that okay, of course you will learn your CA the numbers and the finances and all those things, but also learn how to do essentially marketing, how to do networking, how to
Yes.
communicate better. Wow, that's yeah, that's a counterintuitive answer, but I think something really really important which most of our listeners should keep in mind. You can't just be a single faceted,
Yes.
single skilled person. You have to have multidimensional skills. So okay, yeah, Yogi, you had a question.
Yeah. So with the whole focus that you've put on presentation skills and communication skills, right? And you also spoke about networking skills. So most of the CAs are not very extroverted as a person, right? That's what we have seen. So what would be your tips for them to open up and start networking and talking to a lot more people? I know many of them do client communication and all that for sure, but still some of them are very reserved, and then they don't find it comfortable talking to a lot of people. So how would you break that, or how did you break that?
So how did I break that? Okay. Something which I have to tell over here is, so when after leaving KPMG, joined EY, and EY I was in a global role. So I was traveling all around the globe for my work. So when I was in a different country, there was a people with a altogether different set of like in a Western country. So when you go for like a walkthrough or interviewing your process owner, so what happened is the first question your process owner would ask you would be, okay, how are you? So I would just answer, okay, I'm fine, just that. And then I used to see that, okay, what is he expecting more to say? But the more which he expected me to say was, thank you, how are you? To ask them in written. So
Got it.
that's how Western culture works. You need to start making small talks to get detail and to understand them, to build a good relationship with them. Because at the end, they always see an internal auditor as a fault finder. So you're not much welcome always. You need to build a relationship with them to uh, to find a fault. To be more precise.
Beautifully said.
That's,
Beautifully said.
yeah, that's what you have basically said will essentially be the difference between success and failure for a CA. I'm sure about
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Like if he's not able to get all of the information, he can't do his job. He or she can't do his job. Like correct me if
Correct.
I'm wrong.
Yes, that's the base. If you
Totally.
can't get info, if to be more precise, you can't build a relationship with your process owner.
Correct.
You
Perfect.
can't build a relationship, and when you like as a at a very young age, you have to represent yourself to a CFO or a CEO who has 30 or 40 years of experience in that particular field. So why should he take your services? So you need to build that trust with them. That's the another most important thing. And building a trust, the first step is building a relationship with them.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Snehal, on this note, right, you specifically spoke about a young fresher or say 2, 3
Yes.
years in the industry. Is going to be speaking to someone like 30 years old, 40 years old, who's like an experienced dude,
With 60 years old or 50
possibly,
years old.
possibly.
Yeah.
So at that level, right? So some of the youngsters feel scared, threatened, probably like subdued, or not sure. Sometimes you just start flustering over the whole conversation, right? So I'm sure you would have felt or did something to empower yourself or make yourself feel a lot more confident in front of these people. So what was those activities that you did just to ensure that you're feeling more confident in front of these people?
So what are the activity which I did? So
Activity or process, whatever you had.
yes.
I know you think in terms of process, at least that's what I've understood in the whole interview. So what is the process that you followed?
Okay. The first thing used to be I used to write affirmations that I am the best. I am the most confident person. I am the best auditors. I can help my company to grow. I can do a value addition for my clients. So this was the first thing. And the second thing, before presenting any of my observation or any of my reports to the client, a day before I used to practice that observation in front of a mirror that I'm presenting it to my client.
Wow.
Got
So
it.
that when I'm presenting in a
Bas-
meeting or in that
Basically
big
rehearsing
scale,
like an actor.
yes,
And Nikhil, if you actually notice this, right, these are all things multiple people have told, and many of us don't follow this. That's the major difference between, I would say, success and not success, not being a success.
Absolutely. And
That's
I would
typically
also
typical
like
what
to
I'm
add,
seeing right
I would also like to add, I'm 100% sure not many CAs are thinking about doing things like this.
here. Totally.
like I'm 100% sure, they're focusing on spreadsheets and accounts and tally and SAP and all that. But simple things like what she mentioned, right? Just rehearsing your entire report once.
Totally makes sense.
The positive affirmations part, I mean, guys, you may feel it is cheesy, but trust me, it works. It's extremely hard to remain optimistic in this competitive. So just by having simple positive affirmations, at least you'll have enough energy to try to persist. Correct me if I'm wrong, Snehal.
Yes.
No, not at all.
Yes.
Nikhil, on that note, right, there's also this thing. To become successful, there are only very simple techniques. People ask for, give me something complex. No, to become successful, there are very simple steps that you need to follow. That's it. It's not like a complex operating system that someone's got to download onto you. Beautifully.
So we have a question from Bhupendra Singh Rajput. Bhupendra asks us, what are some other skills like Excel which are very important in finance world and we can learn along with our graduation or say articleship or stuff like that?
The other skills, I would say that when I was doing my articleship, these skills were not in the market, but now business are getting automated. So, and there is a very vast data when you do an audit. So you can't handle the vast data on spreadsheet. Spreadsheet do help you, but you need some other skill set. So learn something of data analytics, learn about automation, learn something with respect to blockchain, because most of the processes they're implementing blockchain. So do an audit, you also need to have a knowledge of blockchain. So you don't need to be expert in it, but the basic knowledge.
Absolutely.
So,
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is a very important sort of message, right? A lot of people think of automation and data analysis in a very negative tone. Well, if you're the one who are doing the data analysis and automation, there's no chance you have to worry about your jobs. So it's important to have a positive outlook on it because it's gonna happen. Automation is inevitable. You might as well be one of the people who's automating it rather than being automated away. So what would you?
If it's automated, who would be the one who will audit it? So you need to have that knowledge.
Exactly. I mean, absolutely. So what would you tell about this? This is a very, so I am a business owner. I'm a small entrepreneur. One of my most irritating things is dealing with government bureaucracy. Now, in the end of the day, what I end up doing is I end up paying my CA to handle all that. So what would you say, like how should a person who's doing articleship or something like that prepare themselves to deal with Indian bureaucracy?
To go back to Indian bureaucracy, okay. So I've been lucky. After qualifying, I've never interacted with any of the income tax department or anything. My career was completely different. But if I have to say that during my articleship, there were many instances.
Okay.
So the two things would be document everything. Document each and every discussion you have with them. And the other thing would be once you document it, follow up on it with them.
Okay.
That would be the two most important thing. And sound very confident in front of them. Let it be anything. Don't get scared of them.
So you're right, you're wrong, doesn't matter. Just make sure you're confident.
Yes.
See, these are all practical tips that you can use, right, Nikhil?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, no one's giving you GAN. They're telling you what works in the street. So please pick up these kind of things that you could implement quickly. Beautiful.
So I want to ask you something interesting. This would be related to, say, actual job interviews. Now, because CS is such a fundamentally, there's lots of financial technicals which end up getting involved. There's so many different ratios and all those things which someone will have to keep track about. Bookkeeping, financial analysis, all these things. Now, obviously, given all that, typically when you do end up going for a job interview, for example, it's gonna be another CA who's probably an expert, as you mentioned, 30, 40 years experience. So how do you think someone should prepare for an interview? Because there's pretty much no way that you'll know everything. Like it's next to impossible. So how do you think someone should prepare for an interview, especially when they're going for one of these big four firms where, they take the recruiting process very seriously?
Yes. Okay. So first thing, if I have to say that before a personal interview, there would be a group discussion. So in a group discussion, this is not a group discussion which is with respect to a CA students. It would be respect to MBA or a graduate, the only thing which can get you through group discussion would be your communication skills and your team management skills. So here,
Okay.
over here, this two would be a main skill set which would be important to crack the first round of interview. And second round of interview, which would be a personal interview, there your knowledge gets tested. So the if you're an MBA or if you're a graduate or if you're a CA, they will focus on one thing, which would be, if it's a CA, they'll focus on your articleship. And if it's you're an MBA or a graduate, on your internship. And all the questions which would they ask would be with respect to what you have done in your articleship or you're in an internship. So they would start grilling you on those questions. The other would be current affairs. So if there is some change in IFRS or there is some change in NDAS, be updated. That's the first question which would come to you. If there is some change in the Company Act, if you're not going even for a taxation role, but if there is some major changes in taxation or GST got recently a year or two back, it got implemented. So you should have those details. You should know about it. So that would be some basic. And if you don't know about it, don't give any vague answer. Tell them clearly that you don't know the answer. If you
It's better to
tell,
tell I don't know than
yes,
give a wrong answer, is it?
yes. If you tell them a wrong answer, they would start grilling you more on that. And
Oh,
then you end up screwing entire interview.
oh, okay.
So that's one thing. When I have taken an interview in a Big Four, I would say I've just used to wait for a point when somebody gives me some wrong answer. So that would be my line to start, okay, checking the person on the
बस
confidence
अब मैं
level.
इसको नहीं छोड़ने वाला, इसका रैगिंग स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ.
I think that's the only way they get an access to ragging then.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually very practical advice.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you this. So this has been a problem, I guess, these days, wherein specifically about current affairs, because it's very difficult to get the right information. You know, there's so many different news websites, they give their information in their own words and all that. If you had to tell the top sources which any CA student should follow, or any CA who's just graduated, who's probably applying for jobs, which news sources do you follow, do these Big Four companies follow, which they're proper, they're perfect, they're not giving any wrong information, they're not giving opinions, they're giving facts? So what are the top news sources which someone should follow to prepare for current affairs?
For the current affairs, if somebody has to prepare would be, so when it comes to any of the law, I would ask them to read bare law. There is nothing other than reading a bare law, because everywhere you will just get an opinion.
Okay.
Read a law and then come to a conclusion, or then come to derive your opinion about it. And if it comes to the current affair, read newspapers like Economics Time, Mint. Those are the two, I think those were the newspaper which I used to read. And also follow, so many of the Big Four like KPMG, PwC, they keep publishing their own articles. They keep publishing their own opinion about all the current affairs. So before going for an interview, and they do it in a very summarized way, read those particular articles.
Beautiful.
Okay. That's fair. Okay, so moving on to my next question. So say now you've read about current affairs, you're ready for your interview, you have cleared your CA. If I would ask you now, okay, these are the sort of different tracks which you can take as a CA, like taxation, internal audit, external audit. So, what are the different sort of tracks which any CA student should be aware of? And how do you think he should end up making that decision if he's confused? I mean, how did you go about doing it, and what would you suggest to anyone else?
Okay. So after clearing your CA, you have a three part, which would be take a job or go for a business. So firm and business would be very neutral, because everyone would know what needs to be done. When you for a job, in a job, you have an option to go for Big Four. You have an option to go for MNC. You have an option to go for bank or any of the NBFC or the mutual fund companies. So with respect to Big Four, within a Big Four, you have an option to go into taxation. Taxation would have direct, indirect taxation, international taxation, litigation. It's again a broad area. Then you have an external audit. I would say that external audit, if you are a ACCA, CPA, point of time it gets limited because you can't sign the balance sheets. So that's one most important thing which is needed. If then coming to consulting, within a consulting, if I have to say, there are consulting and advisory. So consulting and advisory is divided into three parts. The first would be your risk advisory. The second would be management consulting. The third would be deal advisory. They're divided into internal audit, into cyber security, into various forensic audit and various. Management consulting is a very niche field. It's always, the CAs are not the one who are preferred over there. It would be people from the tier 1 MBA colleges. Most of the time IIMs and IITians are the ones who get into that.
So we have a question from Ganavi. So Ganavi, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I'm from Kalpataru Institute of Technology. I'm studying computer science engineering, third year CSE. So, what language is more suitable for us? I mean, it should be easier and to learn. Like I'm learning Python now, so that I should continue.
So I'm very sorry. I think I think this would not be the right question to ask Nehal. She's a chartered accountant. She's not a computer science engineer. So, but I mean, I don't think that's the right question to ask here. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Ganavi. I don't think we'll be able to take up your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, you can continue. Very sorry.
No problem. So we've got two other questions right now. So what we will do is we will pick up these questions. The first question is from, again, an anonymous attendee. The question is, will we be able to shift to audit after doing taxation and articleship in a Big Four?
Yes, you can shift from taxation to audit after your articleship or after your 2 years of experience, or like any number of experience. The only skill set which you would, when you're shifting to an audit, if you're shifting to an external audit, you should be aware about all the company law. You should be aware about all the accounting standards. You should know, you should have your basic clear to get into that particular role. The only thing would be, so if you would have with articleship, you can move it very easily. You would be considered at the same level. But if you have a 2 years of post qualification experience in taxation and then you move into audit, then your experience would not be considered relevant. So that's the only thing. But other than that, you can very well move into audit. Articleship is just a base wherein you get to learn everything, and post articleship you can decide what you are best into.
Okay, perfect. Snehal, that actually answers a lot of question for us too. So another quick question is, most of us don't have a clarity of what does a CA or what does a consultant, what does an internal auditor actually do on a day-to-day basis. So if you can typically run us through your day, how does it look like? That would actually give us a lot of clarity for kids who are thinking, okay, do I want to get into this field or not?
Okay, what does an internal auditor do? So internal auditor is basically a management auditor. So you're there to advise a management. So internal audit is a broad area. You assess risk in the company. It would not be only a financial risk, but also operational risk, your strategic risk. When I mean operational, the operational would be your procurement process, your order to cash process, your inventory cycle, your logistic process. To take an example, like if I'm talking about a logistic process, so there would be three ways of transporting your goods, either by ship, either by road transportation, or by either by air transport. But there would be a variety of inventory. So which inventory should you transport from air? Which inventory should you transport from ship? Which inventory should you transport from road? Which would be a best option? If you're going through a road transport, which would be the best option to go to select the route? When it comes to inventory, I'm talking about inventory. So if you're not reviewing your inventory, what are your obsolete stocks. So if your obsolete stock is the one which blocks your working capital. So if that is getting blocked, your company gets affected. When it comes to procurement process, so if you're going for a vendor, why should you go for that vendor? How would you analyze if you're incurring any cost? What is a cost benefit analysis if for incurring that particular cost? So it's a very broad area, like anything to everything you can audit. The only criteria would be anything which has a risk and the risk is material enough to affect your bottom line.
Beautiful.
That's what you audit. Just
Got
like.
it. But again, when you say audit, right, for people like, at least I'm into marketing, so for me audit looks completely different. So what do you
Yes.
mean actually by audit? So
So
audit पे करते क्या लोग करते क्या है actually पे? If you have to simplify it to a kid.
okay, if I have to simplify what you do in an audit, you go and understand from the process owner what work you do.
Huh.
And then you try to analyze how best it can be done and what mistake that process owner is doing in doing the work.
Okay.
See, when you're doing that particular process, you do it on day-to-day basis. So there would be many things while doing that process which you would be ignoring in terms of operation, in terms of finances. You would not be realizing, to be more precise. But if another person comes and see from a different perspective, he gets an idea how best it can be done.
Got it.
Okay,
So primarily you're optimizing the process for him. Is that what I would say? Say, for example, my task, if I'm a recruiter, I have a HR process for onboarding new employees or talent acquisition or whatever it is. You're basically understanding this process and making it better, or trying to see, okay, can this be cut down? The timelines could be cut down, or can it be made much in terms of quality of candidates? Can that be made better? Is that what the whole
Yes,
thing is?
you're optimizing the process and also you're assessing the risk. What are the risks involved in that process and how can you minimize those risks?
Beautiful.
The risk would be your operational risk as well as your financial risk.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, I mean, one simple example, I guess, for all our participants just to understand is, say, something as simple as cash flow management, right? You have vendor payouts.
Yes.
So probably someone like Snehal will go through your entire vendor payout cycle and figure out if you're probably paying your vendors faster and leaving, a lot of cash on your books. I mean, not having great cash flow because the given period would be 30 days, but you're paying them in say 15 days. So you're losing 15 days of a cash cycle as an example. So correct me if I'm wrong, Snehal. Is that
Yes.
the right explanation?
Yeah, that's a right definition. And how do you do it further would be just to elaborate over there. So like considering in a current COVID-19 scenario, what is the best thing every company wants to do it to save their cash, to be cash rich.
Correct.
So you also analyze what are the vendors. It might be due in 30 days, but is there an opportunity to delay more? And if there is an opportunity, why are you not delaying it more?
Absolutely. Yeah, and so you may think, it may not be the right thing to do, but financially that makes a lot of sense for a
So,
big company to do.
yes,
At the end,
until
it's
it's
about
not
the
having
business model
any
of the
risk.
company, right?
So if you also sometimes it happens that some vendor would charge you if you delay it. So if those risks are not involved, then you can still delay it.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Totally makes sense.
Great. So I mean, I think we just have 5 more minutes, but yeah, let's see if we have some more questions. So Yogi, you had another question?
1 second. I'm just picking up the questions on Facebook if there are any. Okay. Okay. Snehal, one of the things that you spoke about your articleship was not to worry about your stipend and focus on the
Yes.
kind of work that you do, right? But you also understand that for many students, right, that stipend is a critical aspect of their work. So if we had to negotiate, should we negotiate focusing on the stipend, or should we negotiate on the projects that we would want to work on? What would you give priority to in articleship?
Yeah. In articleship, I would again give a priority to your projects. So if you're doing your project well, and if you talk to your principal, because stipend which you get is a very minimal amount. So talk to your principal once you do that project very well. Tell him that this is a scenario, and then negotiate for the money.
Wonderful.
So have you done that before?
Um,
If you can share one example of your story, that will be like a good end to the season then.
So I'm not done. I'm poor in I was poor in negotiation, to be more precise. So in my articleship, I didn't negotiate it for stipend, but at the end, when I was leaving my articleship, my principal was really happy with my work, and he himself gave me a huge amount of sum of money for a big amount as a gift.
Okay, Snehal, I'm like a complete beginner in the whole finance industry. I'm
Yes.
sure Nikhil also understands that. You've been calling this person principal, right? Is he like a
Yeah.
principal of a school, principal of a college? What exactly is this principal?
In
No,
an
guys,
articleship,
I'm being open about it. I'm not sure what that principal meant. I'm
yeah,
engineer, can't help it.
Typically, any profession, law, architecture, and even CAs,
yeah.
yeah, I think Snehal will be able to answer this. Yeah.
So in any of the profession, so when you're an intern or when the person who reports to or who owns a firm is your principal. So it's like your reporting manager is called a principal.
Got it. So we basically do not have that kind of a term in our profession.
Yes.
So that's the
We
reason.
just have
Clarified.
CEOs and CXOs.
Exactly. Beautiful. I'm just quickly running through to see if there are any other questions.
Oh, we have a question. One second.
Beautiful. Can you pick it up?
So we have a question from Lakshmi Narayan. What's your suggestion to students who quit after doing CA finals because they repeatedly fail in exam? That's actually a very important question. So thanks for asking, Lakshmi Narayan. So what would you say to them?
So that's not an end point. Go for some other jobs, other qualification like ACC or some other certification, and simultaneously keep working. So one thing over here, if you're a semi-qualified CA, when you go for a job, there would be a CA, and if you're equally good, you are treated equally.
Oh,
There is no difference.
wow. Okay.
After getting just getting into that particular job is something, a degree that matters, but once you get into it, it's your performance. How do you perform? It's what that really matters, nothing
Oh,
else.
I actually have a question related to performance. So
Yes.
software engineers typically, right? Software engineers like us, or say, marketing people. So marketing people, for example, we have a simple metric that the performance is seen by reach and number of leads generated. For a software engineer, how many tasks did he close? How many tickets did he close? So for a CA, how would you measure performance?
What is the performance metric,
what
KPIs?
what the metrics which they use to measure you, to so that even you as a CA, are working towards and trying to improve them. So what's the answer for that? Like how are you measured?
So I would say if you're a CA fresher, if you're with a 1 or 2 years of experience, your performance metrics would be if you're in a big four, how you perform at your client, how much of work you do at your client without involving your manager. You close all the audits, report, come out with a good observation, do a value addition at the client, and that's something which matters. Once you get once you get some amount of experience, because of your value addition, how many clients you get into for firm. So how many clients want to continue with the firm because of you. That's the another metrics.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you're not with a big four, and if you're working for a company, uh, it's about what value addition you're giving to the company in terms of optimizing their processes, in terms of assessing their risk, if there is some fraud happening. So how can you first identify that fraud? Or what are the controls which you would implement so that it should not happen?
Okay, that's a good answer.
So primarily you stay ahead of whatever's happening in the
Yes.
organization or in your client's place.
Yes,
Wow.
ahead of all the, you need to stay ahead of all your process owner. Uh, that's one thing.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Are there any other
great.
questions?
Just
No, I don't think
go
so.
through if there are any other questions. Perfect. So I guess finally, this was actually a first interview which we did on time. So so that's a good thing. Previously we had a designer and multiple different job roles, but a CA, of course, it'll be on time. So yeah, Yogi, I guess that's about it. Thanks a lot, Snehal. I'm sure a lot of our participants did get to learn something or the other, especially if they're preparing for the CA, not to get overwhelmed. Work on their communication skills. Please, guys, don't ignore communication skills. it's a very important aspect. Like I think for solid 15-20 minutes, Snehal has told us how important it's been in her career. And yeah, Yogi, I guess that's about it. Let's wrap it up.
Perfect.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot,
Yep.
Snehal, for coming in today and actually giving the crisp, clear details of how anyone could crack a CA job in terms of Big Four and also otherwise. I know there is a restriction that the Big Fours directly hire only from what is that called as the top niche colleges, the tier 1 colleges. But I think as we move into the whole post-COVID lockdown, I think there are going to be opportunities opening up for other colleges too. Hopefully you're ready and prepared in terms of skills to capitalize on that, guys. That's primarily from my end. Thanks everyone. Thanks a lot. Have fun. Take care.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow with a new episode then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.